If this kind of story pulls you in, subscribe now because I'm telling this one the way it actually felt: messy, embarrassing, slow, and way too human. I'm not proud of every decision I made. I said things I shouldn't have said. I checked things I should have trusted. But what my wife, Danielle, did to me in Houston, Texas, made me question my own mind for so long that when the truth finally came out, it didn't feel like victory at first. It felt like oxygen. And the wild part? She destroyed herself with the very lies she used to humiliate me. My name's Andre Collins, 36, born in 3rd Ward, raised half by my mama and half by church ladies who didn't let boys get away with much. I work facilities maintenance for a medical campus, steady job, early hours, bad knees, decent benefits. I'm not some saint, either. I used to shut down during arguments. I could get sarcastic when I felt cornered. Back when Danielle and I were dating, I flirted too close to the line with an ex online. Nothing physical, but still wrong. I confessed, apologized, cut it off, and spent years trying to prove I could be better. I really tried. Lord, I tried. Danielle was beautiful in that dangerous, polished way some people carry like a blade under silk. Perfect smile, perfect posture, always knew what to say in a room full of people. She worked event branding for a hospitality company downtown and had this gift for making strangers feel chosen. When she looked at you, you felt seen. When she laughed, people leaned in. When she got angry, though, phew, she never raised her voice first. She'd just tilt her head and make you sound ridiculous. That was her real talent. Not lying, not cheating, making you feel stupid for noticing either one. And that did something to me. At first, it was little things. A lock screen when she used to leave her phone face up. Late client dinners that stretched past midnight. New perfume she claimed was from a coworker gift bag. I asked once, come as I could, and she laughed right in my face. Not cruel loud. Worse. Soft. Almost affectionate. Babe, you still carrying guilt from your old mess, she said. You think everybody moves like you used to move. That hit hard because she wasn't totally wrong. I'd been the one who damaged trust first. So instead of pushing, I apologized. Again, that became our rhythm. I noticed she accused, I repented. Then she started doing it in front of people. That's when it became humiliation, not just argument. At cookouts, birthday dinners, Sunday brunch after church, Danielle would slide in little jokes about me being the neighborhood detective. Folks would laugh because she made it sound harmless. Don't leave your phone near Andre, y'all, she'd say, grinning. He'll open a whole investigation. And I'd laugh too, because what else was I supposed to do? If I looked hurt, I prove her point. If I defended myself, I looked unstable. So I smiled. Smiled till my jaw hurt. Subscribe if you know that kind of smile. That smile costs something. One Friday night in Midtown, she really did me in. We were out with her friends at a rooftop spot, one of those places with string lights, tiny expensive tacos, and music too loud for honest conversations. Danielle disappeared for 20 minutes. When she came back, lipstick fresh, hair adjusted, I leaned in and asked where she'd been. Quietly, respectfully, she rolled her eyes and announced, "See, this is what I'm talking about. I can't even go to the restroom without a hearing." Everybody laughed. One of her friends said, "Andre, baby, breathe." I swear my face burned so hot, I thought I might pass out. And still I said nothing. That night, I slept on the couch by choice, staring at the ceiling fan like it had answers. Around 3 in the morning, she came downstairs for water and stood there in one of my old college shirts, looking almost tender. "You embarrassed me tonight," she said. And I remember actually sitting up, confused, because I thought she'd misspoken. I said, "I embarrassed you?" She nodded like it was obvious. "Your insecurity is exhausting. Now let me be honest here." I snapped. I said, "Then stop moving guilty." Not my best moment. Not even close. She went cold instantly. The next week, she barely touched me. For a while, I convinced myself I deserved attention because of my past. That's how this stuff works, I think. The guilty history makes the present easier to weaponize. Danielle knew exactly which shame to press on. Every concern I raised got tied back to the old online flirting. "Trust me the way you wanted me to trust you," she'd say. And when she said it like that, I'd fold. I started buying flowers after arguments I didn't start, taking her lunch to work, leaving apology notes, for misreading her energy. Man, listen to me. I was apologizing for instincts that were trying to save me. That realization came way too late. The first real crack in her story came from something so stupid I almost missed it. A grocery receipt. I'd stopped by our Kroger in Pearland to grab coffee creamer and saw a crumpled receipt in Danielle's car cup holder while I was moving it for street cleaning. 2 dinners at a jazz spot downtown, valet, and a dessert split charge. Timestamp: Tuesday, 9:47 p.m. Tuesday was the night she told me she was stuck at a branding meeting with 2 women from her team. I stared at that receipt for a long time. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, because something in me finally said, "There you are." I didn't confront her. That's important. Old Andre would have burst through the door, waving paper in pain. But I was tired of being turned into the loud, suspicious husband in every version of the story. So I put the receipt back exactly where I found it and watched. That week, Danielle got softer with me out of nowhere. Extra affectionate, checking on my day, asking if I wanted her to make catfish on Saturday. People think guilt always looks nervous. Sometimes it looks generous. Sometimes it looks like overcompensation with lip gloss on. I noticed more than longer showers, hidden smiles, a lock screen angle she used only around me. A few days later, I was folding towels when her Apple Watch lit up on the bathroom counter. I wasn't snooping. I know people say that, but I really wasn't. It just lit up with a text preview big as life. "You told him yet?" No name, just a message. My stomach dropped so fast, I had to sit down on the toilet lid like an old man. Then another message came. "Can't keep sneaking around forever." Danielle walked out of the shower humming while I was still staring at that tiny glowing betrayal. I looked up too slow, and she knew. I could tell she knew, but she moved quicker than me. "Don't," she said, grabbing the watch. "Don't start." Start what? Start reading what my own eyes just saw? I asked who D was to him. She said it was a client. I asked why a client was asking if she told me yet. She laughed, that same soft, surgical laugh, and said he meant a sponsorship proposal. I actually let her finish. Then she added, "See, this is why I can't leave anything around you." By the end of the argument, somehow, I was apologizing for looking at a notification that popped up in my own bathroom. Y'all hear how crazy that sounds? I didn't then. Now here's where the story turns, so stay with me. A week later, my cousin Rochelle called. Rochelle doesn't gossip careless. She delivers information like a federal courier. She said she'd seen Danielle in Sugarland at a steakhouse with a tall man in a gray suit, and they were sitting too close for coworkers. I asked if she was sure. She got offended immediately. "Andre, I know date night shoulders when I see them." Then she said something that froze me. And when Danielle saw me, she looked scared. Not surprised. Scared. That meant Danielle knew she'd been recognized, which meant whatever came next, she would prepare for. So I prepared too. Not with revenge. With clarity. I started writing things down in a notes app. Dates, excuses, receipts, shifts in attitude, exact phrases she used. I'm telling you this because details matter when somebody is rewriting your reality in real time. On Thursday, she said she was in Galveston for an overnight vendor issue, but her parking app pinged our shared email from a garage in downtown Houston. Saturday, she claimed brunch with her cousin and Katie. Her bank alert showed a charge at a wine bar in Montrose for 2 entrees. Every lie arrived dressed neat and confident. Every lie expected me to doubt my own eyes. At the same time, I had to face something ugly about myself. I had become passive, sneaky, and weirdly obsessed. I wasn't sleeping. I kept rereading the same clues like they might arrange into mercy. That wasn't healthy. So I called my older brother, Leon, who has the kind of voice that makes nonsense sit down. I told him everything. He got quiet, then said, "You don't need more proof to know you're being disrespected. You need enough truth that she can't turn it back on you." That line changed everything. Not enough proof for me. Enough truth for the room. Danielle lived for the room. And the room, in our case, was about to get very crowded. Danielle had been planning this big community rebrand fundraiser for a Black-owned arts nonprofit in downtown Houston. Fancy venue, local press, donors, church folks, city people, all the faces she liked to shine in front of. She talked about that event for months. She was emceeing it too, which meant microphone, spotlight, applause, the full Danielle package. A week before it happened, she announced at dinner with friends that she wanted to publicly honor marriage and trust as part of her speech because healthy love deserves visibility. I nearly dropped my fork. Marriage and trust. From her. Lord have mercy. Then came the discovery that made me stop shaking and start thinking. I was printing a car insurance form from our home office when the printer cue showed a document already loaded but not printed. It was a hotel confirmation for a boutique place near Discovery Green. 2 guests. 1 king bed. Check-in the same night as the fundraiser. I printed it before the machine refreshed. The guest name under Danielle's wasn't hidden either. Terrence Waller. And I knew that name. Terrence was one of the nonprofit's board advisors, a polished married man who liked quoting scripture in networking spaces. When I say my hands went numb, I mean physically numb. I couldn't feel my fingertips. I made a mistake that same night, and I want to own it. I drank too much whiskey and almost confronted her when she got home. I was halfway into the kitchen saying, "So who the hell is Terrence to you really?" when I saw her face. Not guilty. Prepared. Ready. Like she'd been expecting me to break early. I stopped mid-sentence, pretended I was angry about money, and stumbled off. Was that dignified? No, but it saved me. Because in that moment, I realized she had planned for private confrontation. She knew how to survive that. Tears, blame, my old guilt, my temper. Public truth was the only thing she couldn't style manage. What I needed wasn't seen. It was timing and irony. Danielle had spent years using public performance to make me look unstable. So the truth had to come out through public performance too, but not by me ranting, cursing, or exposing messages on a projector like some cartoon villain. No, too easy to dismiss. Too messy. Too much room for her to call me vindictive. I needed her to volunteer the rope. Needed her to stand in front of everybody, speak about trust, and tie the knot herself. That sounds cold, but by then, cold was the only thing keeping me from collapsing into old patterns again. I called the nonprofit's operations coordinator, a woman named Mrs. Janice Holloway, who knew both me and Danielle from church circles. I told her I wanted to make a surprise, on-stage donation announcement in honor of my wife's hard work. That part was true-ish. I really did plan to donate because the organization hadn't done anything wrong. Mrs. Holloway loved the idea. She said there would be a short recognition segment near the end where spouses and donors could say a few words. Perfect. Then I called Leon and Rochelle and told them only this. Come to the event. Sit close. Say nothing unless I ask. They understood the weight in my voice. The day of the fundraiser, Danielle looked stunning. Deep emerald dress, hair swept up, gold earrings my mother had given her on our wedding day. That detail almost broke me. I tied my tie in the mirror 3 times because my fingers wouldn't listen. Before we left, she kissed my cheek and said, "Please don't be weird tonight." I almost laughed. I almost said, "Baby, weird already happened." Instead, I nodded and told her I was proud of her, which, in a twisted way, was true. She had built an entire identity out of nerve. Watching somebody destroy trust while speaking fluent respectability is, it's almost art. The venue was gorgeous, all exposed brick and amber lighting, people balancing cocktails and moral reputations. Jazz trio in the corner. Silent auction tables. Cameras flashing. Danielle moved through that room like a queen who already knew the kingdom was hers. Every few minutes somebody touched my shoulder and told me how lucky I was. "Man, your wife is incredible. Danielle is going places. Y'all are such a strong couple." I smiled till my cheeks hurt. Again, but this time the smile had a timer on it. Subscribe here because the next part is where everything shifted, and it shifted because she couldn't resist hearing herself praised. Her speech started about an hour in, and let me tell you, she was good. So good I actually understood how she'd gotten away with this for so long. She talked about legacy, community, Black excellence, showing up with integrity when nobody's watching. Folks clapped 3 separate times before she even finished. Then she turned sentimental. "My husband Andre is here tonight," she said, and a spotlight found me before I could blink. Marriage taught me that trust is a daily choice. I felt every hair on my arms lift, because there it was, the lie. Not private, not implied, declared, polished, gifted to the room with a bow. Then she invited me further into the trap without knowing it. Andre, she said, smiling, you've supported me through every hard season. Would you stand? People turned. Cameras turned. My chest started pounding so loud, I thought the mic might pick it up from across the room. I stood. She went on about grace, partnership, choosing each other over ego. Folks said, I think somebody even dabbed a tear. And while she was speaking, Terrence Waller was standing near the donor wall, holding a drink, trying real hard to look ordinary. His wife, Candace, had arrived late and was beside him in silver. Neither of them knew I knew. When the applause ended, Mrs. Holloway stepped up and said, Andre actually wanted to say a few words too. Danielle's smile twitched. Tiny, fast, but I saw it. I walked to the stage slow, careful, holding an envelope with my donation check and copies of 3 things folded behind it. My hand shook once on the mic. I didn't plan to talk long, I said, which was true because if I talked too long, I might start sounding hurt instead of precise. I just wanted to honor my wife's commitment to truth. Danielle's face changed then. Not panic, recognition. She finally heard the floorboards creak beneath her. I started with myself. That mattered. Years ago, I damaged trust in this marriage with selfish behavior, I said. The room got still. Not cheating, but disrespect. I admitted it. I repented of it. And for a long time, I accepted that as the reason my concerns didn't deserve hearing. Danielle stared at me, frozen smile, while people shifted in their chairs. Then I said, so tonight, I don't want to accuse anybody. I just want to ask for consistency, since trust has been our theme. I looked at Danielle and kept my voice calm. Baby, are you still saying, in front of all these people, that I imagined everything? You could hear silverware set down. Danielle laughed. There it was again, soft and polished, but the sound didn't land the same. Andre, not here, she said into the room, like I was having an episode she needed to kindly manage. Then she reached for my arm. I stepped back. Important detail. I stepped back gently. No, I said, here's exactly where this belongs. Because here is where I've been made to look crazy. Then I asked one question only. Were you or were you not with Terrence Waller at the Belmont Hotel tonight after this event? The sound that left the room wasn't gasping exactly. It was air leaving faith. Terrence barked out something like, this is inappropriate, but his voice cracked on the last syllable. Danielle recovered fast. Too fast. She smiled at the audience and said, this is what I've been living with. Paranoia. He found a board contact's name and built a fantasy. If I'd argued there, she might have won. But I didn't. I reached into the envelope, handed my check to Mrs. Holloway, and then handed Danielle the printed hotel confirmation. Not the crowd. Her. Then read that aloud. I said, since I'm wrong. She looked down. For the first time all night, Danielle had no words ready. She just stared. Candace Waller, Terrence's wife, stepped forward before anybody else could move. Read it, she said. Not loud. Deadly quiet. Danielle's hand trembled. Terrence started toward the stage, then stopped when Rochelle stood up in the aisle and said, don't you dare. My cousin has the authority of an Old Testament warning. Danielle tried one last pivot. She said the room didn't understand, that it was a booking mistake, that Terrence was helping with donor overflow logistics. And maybe, some folks might have bought that if I hadn't asked the next question. The careful one, the one that broke the whole thing open. Then why? I said, did you tell him you couldn't keep sneaking forever? Now, I didn't have to wave a phone. I didn't have to scream. Because the minute I said that line, Terrence looked at Danielle before he looked at Candace. That reflex told the truth before any evidence did. Candace saw it too. Everybody did. Then Danielle made the fatal mistake of her life. She said, you looked at my watch? Wrong answer. Not. That text didn't mean what you think. Not. This is being misunderstood. No. She confirmed the message existed. And once she did that, the whole careful image she built that I was just a jealous, irrational husband collapsed under its own weight. She didn't get exposed by my anger. She got exposed by her own correction. The room broke in layers. First whispers, then chairs scraping, Then Candace taking off her ring with a steadiness that scared me more than yelling would have. Mrs. Holloway looked like she'd aged 5 years in 10 seconds. Terrence tried to approach Candace. She held up her hand without even looking at him. Not one word. Danielle finally dropped the smile and hissed my name under her breath like I'd set her house on fire. But I hadn't. She had. She had chosen a stage, chosen a trust speech, chosen public humiliation as a weapon for years. All I did was hold up a mirror at the exact angle she couldn't escape. And here comes the part that made the ending ironic in a way I still think about. Because Danielle didn't lose me that night first. She lost the audience. The one thing she trusted more than marriage. Those claps, those admiring looks, those social smiles, that was her oxygen. When people started turning away, not in chaos, but in disappointment, you could actually see the panic arrive. She reached for me then. Me. The same man she'd mocked as insecure. "Andre, please say something," she whispered, like I could put structure back around her. I looked at her hand on my sleeve and realized I felt nothing but exhaustion. Just long, clear exhaustion. I took the mic one final time, and this was the revenge, I guess, though it didn't feel vicious. It felt exact. "Please keep supporting this nonprofit," I said. "They don't deserve the mess we brought into this room." Then I turned to Mrs. Holloway and said, "My donation stands. Put it under Danielle Collins' Trust Initiative." A few people actually inhaled sharply at that. Danielle's Trust Initiative. The very phrase she'd used to crown herself all night now lived attached to the moment she publicly proved she had none. That was the irony. I didn't curse her. I didn't destroy the event. I branded the truth to the lie she loved most. After that, I walked off stage. Not triumphant. Shaky. My legs felt like borrowed furniture. Leon caught me near the back hallway before I could fall apart. And I'm not ashamed to say I cried into my brother's shoulder in a suit that cost too much. Not loud crying. The kind that feels dragged out of your ribs with pliers. Rochelle stood guard like security with hoop earrings. Somewhere behind us, I could hear raised voices, a glass breaking, maybe people rushing to contain consequences. But I didn't go back. For once, I didn't chase the narrative. I let it move without me. That was new. That was healing, even if I didn't know it yet. Danielle called me 19 times that night. Then she texted paragraphs. Anger first, then blame, then bargaining, then tears. She said I'd humiliated her. She said I could have handled things privately. She said Terrence wasn't serious, and that the affair had gotten out of hand. That phrase right there, gotten out of hand, made me laugh so hard I scared myself. Like Infidelity was a grocery bag splitting, not choices stacked on choices stacked on choices. Then came the final twist of the knife. She said she only kept lying because she knew I'd never forgive her after my own past. Even in confession, she reached for my guilt. That was the last time it worked. I moved into Leon's guest room for a month while divorce papers got started. Danielle tried circling back through family, church elders, mutual friends. Some people told me to be graceful. Some said a marriage can survive anything. And maybe some can. But mine had already been surviving only performance. Trust wasn't dead because she cheated. Trust died because she turned my pain into entertainment again and again and expected me to carry shame quietly so she could look clean loudly. That part changed me. I started therapy. Real therapy. Not talk to a deacon and keep busy therapy. I had to learn that being imperfect never means you deserve deception. Terrence's life blew up too, from what I heard. Board seat gone. Marriage separated. Reputation scorched. But honestly, I stopped following it after a point. People think closure comes from watching the other person suffer. Sometimes it comes from no longer needing updates. Danielle kept her job for a little while, then lost the nonprofit clients tied to community trust work, which, I'm sorry, sounds like fiction, but that's exactly what happened. Her professional brand had been built on poise, integrity, and public messaging. That's what made the ending so brutally neat. The same public image she used to shrink me became the place where truth finally made room for me. Months later, I ran into Mrs. Holloway at a breakfast spot on Alameda. She sat down with her coffee and said, "You know what everybody remembers from that night?" I figured she'd say the scandal, the speech, the exposed affair. She shook her head. No, they remember that you stayed calm. I stared at my grits for a second because calm hadn't felt noble. It had felt necessary. She said, a liar always plans for your explosion. They never plan for your clarity. Phew. I wrote that down on a napkin like it was scripture. Because that was it. Danielle had rehearsed my anger for years. She never rehearsed losing control of the room. So if you're listening to this and you've ever been cast as the jealous one, the dramatic one, the one who always starts something, hear me clearly. Being imperfect does not make you automatically wrong. Past mistakes don't erase present reality. And somebody constantly mocking your instincts is not proof your instincts are broken. Sometimes it's proof your instincts are threatening a lie. I wish I'd learned that sooner. Would have saved me years of apologizing for what I sensed. Subscribe if you want more stories told honest, with all the ugly pauses left in. Because life doesn't come polished. It comes stuttering, hurting, and then, finally, telling the truth.